Yo, what's up, guys? It's Andrew from travelingguitarist.com. Today I'm going to talk to you about guitar cables and microphone cables and whether or not you can use guitar cables for microphones. And from what I understand, from what I've experienced, I would say no. You can almost never use guitar cables for vocals. And the reason why is because a guitar cable typically it uses a TS cable, which stands for tip and sleeve, whereas a microphone commonly uses the XLR, male to female cable. So as I wrote in the beginning of the article, I think I summarized it pretty well. I said, in general, guitar cables can't be used for vocals because they're usually different from each other, with the former typically utilizing an unbalanced design consisting of a TS construction, tip and sleeve, whereas a vocal cable often uses the XR male to female input and output. So here's what the guitar cable looks like. You have the T and the S, the tip and the sleeve. So that's the sleeve and that's the tip. And within here you have the core wire, which is wrapped in copper. If you were to look inside a XLR cable, it would be quite a bit different. So here's what an XLR cable looks like. You have your hot signal, your cold signal, as well as the ground wire. So there's actually three cables in here, wires. You have two wires that are kind of in opposite polarity to each other. And what that is it results in what's called phase cancellation, which means you have both signals are carrying the same information, and they end up canceling each other out. And the one with the noise is canceled out, and the one without it is left behind. So that's how you get a balanced cable. What it's doing is it's just kind of reducing the amount of noise, and that's essentially what it's doing. But anyway, let's just talk about guitar cables a little bit more, and that way you have an idea of what it is and why it works. So they're typically made out of 5 different things, right? You have your outer jacket, which this is my cable right here, and it's made out of fabric. I forget what material it is exactly, but I've had this cable for probably 10 years. So you can see the outer jacket, it's red and black, and then you have your core wire. I actually took it apart and took a picture of it for you. That's your core wire, and you can see how it's wrapped in this copper right here. I can't zoom in on that for some reason. But yeah, it's like wrapped in this copper, and that's just protecting it. And it also you have the outer shield. This is the outer shield thing. That's just protecting the components of it where it's the most vulnerable. That way, if you bend it or something like that, it's you keep the vulnerable parts of it protected. You don't have to worry about it breaking there, and that's where it's probably going to if it weren't for this outer shield. Then you have the copper shield, which I just mentioned, which is the core wire, and it's wrapped with the copper. As I talked about this before, about the difference between cheap and premium cables. Premium cables are typically, they utilize what's called a braided design, which means that the copper wires that are wrapped around the core wire it's braided around it. That way it's more of an effective shield. Whereas less quality cables, it'll be wrapped in the same wire, but it won't be braided. So it's more vulnerable to issues. Then you also have your insulation, which you can see right here. You can see how it's kind of the wire is wrapped in this like insulated plastic type material. Sometimes it's rubber, sometimes it's plastic, from what I understand. Then let's look at the microphone cable again. That's what this one usually looks like. So obviously you can see it's just completely different. Like I've never seen a microphone that uses a guitar cable type connection. I don't know. Frankly, I'm not an expert on this stuff, but I've never seen that. So I don't know. I assume, I'm sure perhaps it exists somewhere. You could probably find one on the market somewhere. But fundamentally, the two cables are quite a bit different from each other, and you can't use one for the other. So, in conclusion, that's basically it. You can't use one for the other, usually, from what I understand. And yeah, that's it. So I hope this was helpful to you, and I guess I'll see you in the next video. Peace.